I'm here to tell you what I've learned from Loomis and to demonstrate a few things. The first thing that I want to bring up is something I've been talking about recently in different live streams, and that is the gesture. Before anyone of normal intelligence begins to do a fully finished figure, we always start with the basics. We always start with construction. We always start with the mannequin, but even before the mannequin, we try to find the right gesture. If you look over here, we've got some perfect examples of gestures. This drawing by Jack Kirby broke down to this right here. Literally nobody that's of any quality as an artist can't be broken down to something very simple. This is very simple. This is very simple. But no matter how much detail you shove into these drawings, if you don't know the thing underneath it, the simple version, you'd better. Because there's nothing more embarrassing than floundering when you're trying to show everyone what you've learned over the years. Let's look at this a little closer right here. So every single drawing, especially the wonderful comic book drawings that I grew up with, this incredible John Romita Spider-Man there, look at how basic it can be broken down to. So that tells you a lot about what you're aiming for as an artist if you're starting out. It also informs people that are even journeymen, that have been doing this for as long as I have, 40 freaking spickle-spitting years. And I still always rely on my traditional learning. And it starts here. Here's another Kirby drawing I broke down. I love the way the pose looks, so I broke it down into a gesture. And that informs me exactly what I'm really looking at here. Somebody wrote in last week and said, can you break down Michelangelo as a mannequin? Well, if it applies to Kirby, it applies to Michelangelo. There you go. This drawing breaks down to this. Now, how simple can you get? So you take away all that shading, all these muscularity surface points. Same thing going on here. This is one of the most simple guys in the world, but his gestures are impeccably done. His name was Roy Crane. He came out of Aberdeen, Texas. And he was the envy of everybody that couldn't do this kind of stuff. And believe me, or don't believe me, but when you look at something like this, it is deceptively simple. These are the kind of things, these very simple, natural standing poses or sitting poses, normally standing poses, that I still have a hard time with. I'm sure if I was genius level talent, I'd be able to lick it in 5 minutes, but I'm not, so I had to work really hard at it. Again, same thing right here. Faces break down into very simple things. Now, if you can get your head around that kind of stuff and practice it endlessly, like I still do, you'll be showing us something that we really need to see, especially in the comic book business. This is Sketchbook 39 right here. And as you can see by this funny looking guy down there, I practice stuff all the time. Practice, practice, practice. Is it hard work? No, it's not. If it was hard work, I wouldn't do it. Nobody wants to do hard work. But when the job requires it, and all illustrations, all original illustrations require a lot of hard work and research and diligence. A lot of studies, if you so need them, and just a ton of other things that that are going to help you on your way here. Always studying, always practicing. Spaceships, trumpet players, and barn owls. A little bit of everything is in here. Water. Who really knows water as good as they should? Whether or not you're an expert in anything is not the point. It's how well you can decipher what things break down to. There's some Frazetta studies there because everyone knows how good he is. There's Andrew Zorn right there. Arrival of Sargent. There's Andrew Loomis up there. This is some caricature here that I really liked. Practicing caricature is a remarkably astute way to pick up the things I'm going to be showing you today here. So everything from Disney characters to Michelangelo, they all have something in common. And one of my old great teachers, Mr. Owen Kampen, said, the smartest people see the relationships and the things among things that unite us. And people that are less intelligent will always see the differences, how things are separated. So going with that little philosophy, we're going to show you what I've learned, not just from the different examples I'm going to show you, but specifically the Loomis books, because that's what this video is all about. This is Hal Foster. Hal Foster is the godfather of comic strips. He's unparalleled. If you think you can even come close to matching him, you'd have to be a genius with the combined intellect of Einstein and Newton and Copernicus, and probably a couple hundred Greek philosophers too. Here, let's just bring it up really close. Is that good? Super close. There's the finished drawing, but like everyone else, Hal Foster breaks his figures down to what you're seeing there in the left. It almost appears to be magic when you break these things down because they're so simple. Anyway, I love experimenting with things like this. Do we have any more incredible examples here? Oh, this one right here. I was telling you guys how much trouble I have with figures just standing there. These are broken down into the mannequins right here. And you can see the mannequins are as natural looking as the finished drawing. I never start any of my animation drawings without breaking the gesture down first, and it's still hard for me to get it. It's just pathetic. I think they're going to kick me out of the union eventually here for not getting it by now. So that's Alex Raymond's stuff right there. This is Toth. Good, good. Let's move that aside, as long as I've showed you the things that are required here. Mr. Producer, can you grab those two little Day-Glo pieces of paper over there? Because, yeah, because this is what I wrote down beforehand to let you know what you have to learn to be an artist. First thing I wrote down, learn the mannequin. You can't draw figures without learning the mannequin. Everything has a local color. If some girl has blonde hair, it's basically yellow. That's the local color. Everything has a local color. This is yellow-green right here. This is yellow-green right here. This is a non-color. It's white.
Rob Felber says, I miss the days when newspapers actually cared about their comic pages.
This example from Disney's incredible background painters here. Well, this is broken into something very simple. They're not all this simple with color, but this is a good example to show you. The local color is brown, with a large area of blue is a counterbalance. This one right here that I've been practicing on is basically made up of grays. There's different kinds of grays. There's blue grays. There's this kind of gray. The closer you come to not being able to identify color, the more gray it is. And I can't even describe what these colors are. They're just barely different versions of black and white. And it's just incredible what these guys, the intelligence, the wit, the talent, and the abilities of these guys to do something incredible. The animation process is so involved. It is literally unbelievable that anything gets ever done, unless you got a guy like Walt standing over your shoulder. Oh, okay. By the way, have you ever thought about how hard live videos are? You guys ever try that? Then you know what I'm talking about. You have to be on. You have to be on. And you can't just go around saying a lot of ahs and you knows like I've been doing here. You have to be very clean in your speech and get to the point. I talked about basic shapes. Okay, well, just so happens that we have some examples of basic shapes here. But first, I'm going to show you one of the things that that show you the rhythms of the figure, if you so choose to learn them. So the first one I'm going to do is head to bottom, to the very bottom of the. I think these things. I think the head comes a little bit more to the rear, and this comes to about there. Let's do the head. No reason to do the head first. No reason whatsoever. In fact, it's probably the last thing you should do, but some of the training I've had, okay, there's rhythms. This is also part of the gesture right here. And the mannequin. Here's the center line. It comes out like that. Center lines are important because you really can't figure out the perspective of a figure until you're looking at the center line. Believe me, it's important. I rely on them all the time. All these things that I'm showing you, I rely on all the time because they're part of the fundamentals of what make up good art and the artist who employs them. And I know that we're all well employed. This can be swung over like this. That's exactly how Loomis actually has it. So there's your gesture line. Here's your mannequin parts. This girl is having a really good time. You want to put some ins and outs in there once you get the basic form down, fine.
Someone's asking what kind of lead is that on your pencil?
This lead, boy, you guys give me the tough ones, don't you? This is a Derwent drawing pencil, the same ones I've been using for most of these live demos here. This happens to be ink blue. They come in different colors, brown, black, all the usuals. Silence, animal. They always got to get in the act. And flow hard. Let's show everyone flow hard right now. This is what beagles do when they're tired of watching bunnies. So you can take this as far as you want. Try to get the hands in there, painful as they are. Remember, there's the wedge. Super, why don't you show everyone the worthless animal that's making all that noise right here. Yeah, there she is. We have only she animals in this house, and that's why we are drastically outnumbered here at the Dude residence. So there's your mannequin, all right? Within this form, there are the other forms. And then this is another example of how you can go from big to little. Quit your dicker rolling. Okay, let's get her hair in here. That is the form that I see. It's very basic. And here's something that's really interesting that all of us journeyman artists know and have maybe known from an early age is the appeal of the unfinished drawing. This is an unfinished drawing, but listen to people make comments about the roughs that you do before you do a tight illustration of something. Inevitably, most of them are going to say they like the gesture better because they see the joie de vivre going on here. And it's just a thing of beauty to look at. My wife, Janelli, always comments on the gestures being better than the finished thing. If we want to put the face in here, we have to know the head. Dick, do you know the head? Heck no. They're basically, the eyes are in the middle, and then this is all Loomis stuff right here. Everything is symmetrical here. And she's got underlighting going on here. This is obviously taken from a model that Loomis employed here, because everybody used models back then. Comic book people and animation people should be versed in creating the figures basically out of their head. Now, it can be learned. Everyone in comics and animation know what I'm talking about. It's amazing when I look at this drawing here how much is completely not there, and yet I know exactly what's going on here. That is not a good face. So in order to reclaim my rep in the business, I'm just going to have to redo that. This is a very bizarre thing right here. The perpetual learning curvature that always goes on. Why is that? I don't know. So honestly, I'm just gonna have to like do it by eye here first. There's so much I could tell you about drawing heads and stuff, and maybe we'll get into that at some other point, but that looks absolutely hideous. Why don't we move on here so I don't waste the day going over this head. I will get it down. So we're going to move on here. At least draw the basic shape here, Rude. There you go. So we have a promising start for next time. There are a couple artists that I believe are worth studying when it comes to the very things we're talking about. One of the things I learned in school, the Calabasas school that I keep harping about, is design. And what I was taught by my teacher, the very talented Glenn Orbick, who is no longer with us sadly, is when you draw a head or a figure, it's whatever it is. If you design the head and figure, it's a whole different thing. Now, my friend Drew Struzan did this example right here. This guy's talent knows no limits. So, looking at that head right there, we're going to, what are we going to do? I think I'm going to try that in charcoal because I want to get some tones in there. And I also want to, let's do it really big. I heard that one of the ways to get good at anything is to fail a lot. Well, no problem here. Little Keeds have eyes that go down to here. I'm going to get the contours down, the outside contours. It's so funny because whenever I bring up Drew's name, they go, who? Yeah, Drew who, right? But everyone's seen his work because anyone that grew up in the late 70s and the 80s and 90s, his work was on every poster every movie that was released had a poster from him. And when I would go into the theater in the 80s, I would just stare at those things and say, how does anyone get this good? And then you think, well, will I be this good someday? Is it just practice? It's actually more than just practice. It's some kind of a special ingredient that only guys like this know. I mean, I've been trying to learn from his work for so long, and I've come remotely efficient on doing this kind of stuff. And I'm still going to keep learning from it. Wow, wow. Those stupid dicks. Is that chin too long? Drew was a remarkable person. The guy that I knew. We had some great talks. I would fly in from Phoenix, where I live right now, to San Marino, California, or is more like San Gabriel, yeah, and that's where he lived. Drew used to live in Arrowhead, California, and for some reason he had to move, and I'm sure it was because of somebody trying to mess with sales with his art that these people had nothing to do with doing. But he got ripped off a lot, and the movie business is actually sadistic. Imagine having to do 20 versions of the same painting right here to please a bunch of suits. No thanks, guys.
We have a question in that is asking, are there in fact any bad habits you contend with when you're drawing, whether an action pose or a standing pose?
Yeah, in fact, I've got them written. I have those specifically written down here. Those very things, the bad things artists do. And when I do something like this right here, and I'm using charcoal, I'm going to use the side of it. That just gives me, so you have this right here and you have this. And everyone in the business knows all about these things. Good question about the bad habits, because we're going to go into that. The bad habits are things I've seen people in my business, the comic book business, committing all the time. Shame on them. So the first thing I'm going to do is that. Do we have any really strong... this is tough to do this in these charcoal sticks right here. But we shall endeavor to overcome. Everything on his face, by the way, from the hair to the highlights on the face, is all designed. And that's why he's so good at what he does. If I see something I'm doing wrong, I'm going to adjust it. This hat goes up a little higher, and so I'm going to rub this right here. When I put this kind of tone on here, I'm thinking of the egg shape that everyone always talks about. You know, the big, broad, big picture version of what this head is is doing here based on the light that's hitting it. These are the dark accents. So this is a lesson in tonal drawing right here. Drew, or Stru as I've been known to call him, pretty clever, huh? There's nothing this guy couldn't draw. And there are people finally that are coming out and just unwaveringly support his sacrifices. And believe me, when you work in the movie business, you are always sacrificing sleep, sanity, and everything in between. These eyes right here are, they have to look as though they actually are dimensional, like they wrap around the head. Okay, so I'm going to take it that far, and then I'm going to take what everyone does, this kneaded eraser right here, once I get the charcoal off my hands. You notice I have two water bowls here. This is something that I've always done. One is for the clean water, and one is to make it is when things get dirty. It's a good habit to get into. I think we need a few more tones in here to get the big effect of the light. Let's darken it just a little more, because when I go in there and spell those highlights out, I want to make sure they show up very clearly. Every ear has has an individual touch to it, and that is going down much lower right here. So it's probably good for you guys to see this right here. This is what we all go through when we're working from this and that. I have some really good artists coming up, like the very best, and we're obviously starting with Drew Struzan. Stru. It's funny how many people pick up with that name when I start using it. Adjusting, readjusting. That's what it's all about. Okay, let's. So we have an overall tonal thing going on here. Let's make it really stand out. I'm going to move the paper to the side right here, and kind of think of this this charcoal is a brush. This is kind of a brush stroke right here, isn't it? And this is a very thin, rounded brush right here. I think we want to give him his chin back. Adjusting, always adjusting, always adjusting. That's the power of charcoal right there. So, again, this is something the school taught me, and a lot of it is all based on Loomis principles. But remember, guys, the principles are the same for everyone. They don't change person to person. No, this one is really rock hard. I think they need to advertise it as rock hard before you buy them. So according to Stru, these are the light areas that that he picked out here. It's all based on a photo reference, but Drew goes way beyond the photo reference. I remember I was talking with Drew on the phone one time, and what did he say? He goes, I've been learning how to use the projector like you use. And the guy said, it's not as easy as I thought it was. The Calabasas school, the one I keep bringing up, taught us everything, all the commercial arts stuff. And one of them was learning how to use the projector, which I've never really taken to at all. I just By the way, these are all shapes right here. And that's another thing that we're bringing up here. A little highlight in the lid there. Keeping mostly to this side. And this area, of course, is blasted out with light. Top of the brow, there's a ridge, brow ridge going on there, and that's why it has the light. Everything follows a pretty logical pattern when it comes to light in a form. That's why you see people breaking things like heads down to just an egg shape. Where that chin is getting really dark. So that's what it is. It's a middle tone, which is kind of this area right here, and then there's the darker tones as it curves based on the direction of the light. And is that the president calling? Because I don't have time for that nonsense. Okay, let's reinforce some of these things right here. Oh. The toenail pattern of Flowhard is arriving here. Normally I use charcoal pencils, but not always. I think I would probably have a little more control over it than this wedge shape right here. This kind of works best when you're working really big. But it is a thing of beauty, and one of the things that, another thing that school taught all of us was using charcoal as a beginning stage for a painting. Everything is there except for the color. You can see Drew gets really specific down here. Yeah, Mr. Producer, did you have a comment?
Someone is asking, do you think comic book writers should all learn the basics of drawing?
Not necessary. But look, there's no such thing as wasted knowledge, as I'm big on saying. Everything you learn makes getting along with others and relating to others a little bit easier. So you can't go wrong with knowledge. Moving on from Stru, our man Drew Struzan is one of the guys he learned a lot from early on. This is Leyendecker, and we are not going to use a charcoal wedge for this one. We're going to use this black pencil right here. Again, this is all about shapes, but everything as I've reinforced to you guys, everything starts out with the same things I began with in this video right here. A gesture line and the mannequin. Babies' bodies are a little different than adults. They're babies. Babies have this funny set of proportions. These huge heads, saucer eyes. That's why they're so adorable. They look like cartoon characters. So the baby's eyes are way down here. And by the way, you may find this of interest. I know that I did. Leyendecker never worked from photos. He was very much against that. That had a lot to do with the time that he grew up in. Real illustrators didn't work from photos. The practice became full-blown important in the late 40s, early 40s. They use photo reference. Once they found out the kind of poses they could get from things that only a snapshot, a moment in time could give them, they learned to incorporate that into all their work. Right, baby? Baby's eyes are way down here. Hound dog, are you crunching on a bone? So you think that this is what these live videos are all about? No, it's about showing you what the animals are up to too. Baby. Baby. One thing you should know about the dude here, for those of you that are observant, If you see me at a convention, you'll see me getting up periodically to look for babies and blowhards. What are blowhards, Mr. Producer?
Dogs.
Yeah, that's the normal word that I never use, because I'm not normal. Baby. Now I just have to get these eyes to line up here to look down. All right, baby. You gonna give me a hard time or not? Okay, they have no chins. They don't need it. This is kind of funny going back a ways. I like to tell you these stories from bygone years right here. I happened to be visiting some artists in Westport, Connecticut, and one of the guys that was in this studio was Stan Drake, the incredibly talented master artist that was another realist with comic strips. And at the time he was doing a Blondie, the funny caricatured stuff. And he was just a wonderfully nice, open, giving kind of a person. And he told me, if you want to make girls cute, make them more like babies. And he proceeded to draw this head like this, with a forehead sticking out. I thought it was a little much, but that's what I learned from Stan. You know, I'm always talking to you guys about the time I was born and how lucky I was to be born when I was. Gesture. Don't bother with little ins and outs like I'm starting to do here. These eyes have to point, they have to be looking down. Right, baby? All these things that I'm doing here, I'm going to show you what all the shapes are made up of here. Because Leyendecker was beyond earthly when it comes to designing objects, any object. And the longer he stayed in the business, the more caricatured he got. This is a big forehead area on baby. Let's bring this line in a little bit here. All these tones right here. Basically, if I just go like this, I think I can get my point across a little better. But you can see that baby here. Baby's got very baby characteristics. Everything has a characteristic to it. They have certain identifying traits that make them what they are. Leyendecker designed everything on baby here. There is literally nothing on this entire forum that is not designed. And Leyendecker was a funny guy. When he started out in the business, he used to throw these immaculate parties with the hoi polloi of the rich and famous. And I get the feeling that when Leyendecker threw these parties, he didn't say a whole lot. It's like when George Lucas throws parties, he kind of hides in a corner. And I'm sure that's what Leyendecker did. And also, I think it was conventional to just, when you get successful, is to invite the rich and famous and the beautiful people, the important people, just to show off that you've done great things with your life and it's nice to be admired. I'll try to abbreviate baby here, because this is going to take a long time to really get down. And we're here to get in and get out with these videos here. This is something that would require a lot of study, actually. A lot of careful study to get baby. So when you're brought up this thing about, is it okay to trace from photos as a learning tool? Of course it is. Every time that you don't do something out of fear, you can count on it being maybe not a very good thing. People think that if I start doing that, I'm going to be dependent on this stuff. Well, that's nonsense. It's just a learning tool. There's a local value in this stuff right here. The local color of this figure right here is a kind of a yellow ochre. Yellow ochre is nothing more than I'm not sure you guys want to see me continue on this kind of stuff. Maybe you do. I don't know. This is some of the big questions we ask ourselves on these live streams here.
Oh, we just got a comment that says, really enjoy your videos, when you said that.
Oh, that's nice. We aim to please and we aim to entertain. The baby's got his little smock on there. But don't let that fool you. Leyendecker knew every single thing when it came to every form within the body. This guy, the word I like to use for guys like this is unassailable. It's just funny. Everyone admires what he does. Who wouldn't? Stru studied him in the early days, but Drew was so talented that he... let's measure over, by the way. Right above the eyes, is this division going on? Babies have weird folds. When Mr. Silly was born, there's folds on folds. Like an arm would come together like that. That's the way babies did it. So the rhythms in Leyendecker stuff is frighteningly accurate. And everyone knows it too. Leyendecker died pretty much unsung. I think like 7 people showed up at his funeral. Can you believe that? But that's what happens when you ignore some parts of your life that are not good to ignore. Let's bring the entire figure down here. I'm going to kind of start with the feet right here. So when I mentioned that Leyendecker never worked from photos, somehow he got a little baby in his studio. Don't ask me where he got it, but there's one born every minute, like suckers. Look at baby. Babies and blowhards. So I think I kind of got this thing working right here. This leg might extend a little farther, but in the interest of not embarrassing ourselves and knowing that you have to be constantly on and entertain people or they tune out. Just like I would do. Let's just do this one knee right here, okay? What Leyendecker would do when he worked from life is he was able to observe things from all angles. When you take a photo, unless you're taking photos in the round, your eyes are made to see how things go around. You may be looking at this one angle right here, but it doesn't mean there's something on the other side here. Mr. Producer, do you think this is actually interesting to people to see this kind of stuff?
I think so, yeah.
Mr. Producer says, I think so.
And we can ask them as well.
Yeah, let's ask you guys. Why don't we just ask you, okay? I like these folds. I mean, this is really amazing how he put these together right here. And I think this area right here is more designed than anything else in the entire picture. So he designed it to make it more real than real and more appealing than real too. If you've ever seen some of these guys that haven't been taught to design things, it looks like a kind of an anonymous lump. And that is not how I wanted to end up as an artist. I wanted to be a designer of things.
Oh, we have comments coming in. Will says, it's very interesting. Another says, yes, we are entertained and well educated by your videos, such as this. And another one saying, keep going, please. It's fascinating to watch.
All right, well, there you go. There's the consensus. And the dude never ignores the consensus. This goes up a little higher, but hey, try to forgive me. I know not what I do. Yeah, this is just the coolest stuff. When Stru would put out these videos, he would mention, which is kind of important, that this is supposed to be fun.
Another comment saying, speaking of how to draw books, I can't wait to get my Nexus book available for purchase on the website.
Yeah, good. We've got a lot of stuff on the website, which is how we keep ourselves solvent and above water here. So everything you donate and write it and purchase is a big help to us, as it would be anyone, really. So you can see I'm going to try to emphasize the form beneath the form right here. I'm having a hard time getting dark in this stuff right here. Look at baby's feet. Now look at all the stuff Leyendecker has going on here. He's got a little bit of reflected light. You guys all know where reflected light comes from. It comes from something nearby that bounces into the shadow form. These are things that anyone who wants to be an artist has to observe. Guys that are illustrators that are really into light, you'll find these guys always looking at some interesting light effect. But look at the rhythms here, just on this leg alone right here. And when the highlights come in, it's even more remarkable.
Someone else said, my Nexus animation book is coming Monday. Woo.
Yeah, I'm going to bring that up. There's kind of a running joke with this Nexus cartoon stuff I keep bringing up, and that is, how long would you work on something before you gave up on it because you never had any bites? Well, is 40 years long enough? Actually, I think it's longer than 40 years now. And I have never really had a serious offer that I considered legitimate to get my show in the air. But one thing that the Nexus animated series has is about every imaginable thing that you need before you actually start animating. Then you probably need to show in recorded history. So when I say I've got a stack of things that I've done, it's everything you hear about that you need in animation. But the stack of layouts that I have is probably like that. That's the amount that goes into an entire half-hour show. So, baby, what do you say? Are we going to move on here?
Mario donated $10 to the stream and said, thanks for all these lesson videos, Steve. You're a big help with difficult human figure work, especially simplification. Well,
good. That's I came to some kind of a weird realization when I turned 60, and that is, it's time to give back. Take everything you've learned, the hard-won knowledge that you've had to figure out over a lifetime, distill it down to the simplest things, because you can never have enough teachers that show you how to break things down into simple. So that's what I try to do when I do things like this. This isn't dark enough to show you. Do I have a single dark pencil here? Ivory black. Imagine that. Okay, so there's baby. We're going to say goodbye to baby right now. And we're going to move on to the next person who designs things really well. And that is a guy named Dean Cornwell. This guy is, he was a Harvey Dunn student that goes back to the 1910s, 1915s. Imagine living during that time. It's, I find myself often daydreaming about what it would be like to be alive during that age. I don't think there's a single time in history where there hasn't been a combination of the same problems that everyone goes through in every age. Is this blue? No, it's black. It's black and blue. This has a very strong gesture to it, and I'm going to just, by intuition alone, start at a random spot. And I'm going to try to really reinforce the basic stuff that's going on here. Cornwell was rivaled really anybody in the world. It's really funny. This looks like it came down in a different way, but this is why you practice, guys. And remember what I said about what did I say? Self-devoted knowledge, or knowledge that you work on to get better at whatever you're doing, is never wasted. It can't be. Boy, that looks really funny right there. It looks, it comes way down here. You know, that doesn't even look possible. If I draw through right here and give some perspective lines, the only way this leg could work is if it came down lower. Sorry, Dean. And if we move up a little bit to where the ankle is, that's when we start with the folds in the bottom. So let's continue right here. You notice I have a tendency to get involved in little things. I think we all do that to some degree. So I was just informed by our ace producer here that we've just gone over the hour mark. And you guys are still hanging in there? Remarkable. Again, like with Cornwell here, every single shape is designed. These are my sweeping gesture lines right here. I remember something that I should bring up. When I was in my mid-20s, I went to the university to take a life drawing class by a very renowned teacher, and I always wondered how people got those clean lines. Because when I started out drawing, it was scribbles. Everything was a scribble to get to. This would not have looked like this. It would have been a scribble. A lot of lines, a billion lines per square inch. And I thought, how did they get those drawings so clean like that? How did they do that? Well, it involved a lot of practice, guys. I was determined not to be great, but not to be bad. So let's just briefly try to delineate some musculature in here, because that's part of the fun of it. But if you don't have this down right, if this head is this far over, when it actually aligns up pretty much with the knee there, you need to do more observing. Dean Cornwell was another guy who was absolutely unparalleled in what he did. He was freakishly good. I wonder if there's even a guy today that can draw as good as him, or Leyendecker, or Rockwell. You can see where my loyalties lie here. And we have this super big sweeping line right here. You see I'm using the side of my pencil right there. That's first order business they teach you in art school. So I'm a big believer in going to art school. This is a reinforced edge right here with a little bit of an accent on it. Accent. Cornwell was left-handed, but I try not to hold it against him. Imagine being so good at something that nobody can find a single thing to criticize about your work. Sure, they would find it anyway, because that's what people do. But not in my book. Look at these beautiful sweeping folds right here. Again, he distilled them down to the most simplest of things. Let's do the hand gesture before we get too carried away here. And to do that, I want to get the perspective blocking before I do anything here. I'm going to get the wedge shape down, which is like this. This is the way it goes. And you can see I'm doing this fairly lightly. And then when I think I've got it, the gesture at the right place, I'm going to get bold like this right here when I know where I'm going with it. I'm always talking to you guys about the difficulty of hands. You think they wouldn't be a problem after all this time, but you'd be surprised. I know I am. Look at this weird little shape going on here. That's part of Leyendecker or Cornwell's incredible sense of design. I want to get this gesture down for the hand, because I'm always working on my hands. These were all drawn from live figures. Nothing was photographed. Oh, Cornwell, sorry, I'm thinking of Leyendecker again. No, Cornwell was big on whatever it takes. And so if he needed photos, normally he would do live sketches first, as per his training. So that's kind of what I'm seeing here when it comes to this hand. The shapes within are just incredible here. They're so precise. So we've gone over the hour mark. The only other thing I was going to show you, as long as you asked, was the relationship with something like this to something like that. There are a couple lines that figure drawing lines that we learned in the school, and I brought these up before, and honestly you can make anything on earth made up of these lines right here. This is a straight. This is a kind of a sort of an S curve going on. These are all C curves right here. C curve, C curve. Long lines, long straight lines. The mustache is this kind of shape. It's an S shape. You hear guys on YouTube always saying this. Like the video and share it with a friend. Well, what if you don't like it? Why would you want to share it? But if you like this one, thumb it up and pass it on to a friend. I'm going to take my leave before I get too crazy. You guys take care. I'll see you next week.